أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي ربي يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير آمين يا رب العالمين.
In this lecture, we will study how to use Jumla Ismiya as a question. We will study how to make Zaidun Swalihun into a question. In English, we have Zaid is pious. And in question form, we will ask, is Zaid pious? In Arabic, we will try to convert Zaidun Swalihun into its question form. There are two kinds of questions. Questions that can be answered as yes or no, and questions that cannot be answered as yes or no. For the first category, we have the following examples. We can ask the question, is this an apple? And we can answer yes. Is this a pen? No. So these are examples of questions that can be answered with yes or no. In contrast, we have the questions such as, what is your name? This is not a question that you can answer with yes or no. The answer will be, my name is Zaid, or my name is Fatima. So there are certain questions that you can answer with yes or no, and then there are questions that you cannot answer as yes or no. In Arabic, to make questions that can be answered as yes or no, we can add either of the following at the start of Jumla Ismiya. We can either add Hamza or we can add Hal. Once again, to make questions in Arabic that can be answered as yes or no, we can add either Hamza or Hal at the start of Jumla Ismiya. Let us learn further about some terminologies. This Hamza is also called Hamza-Istifhamiya. Please note that Hamza-Istifhamiya and Hal, these are both examples of huruf. And the grammatical terminology for these huruf is huruf istifham. To recap, if we want to make questions in Arabic that can be answered with yes or no, we can add either of the following huruf at the start of the Jumla Ismiya. We can add Hamza, which is called Hamza Istifhamiya, or we can add Hal. Please note that both Hamza Istifhamiya and Hal are called Huruf-e-Istifham. Hamza Istifhamiya is one type of Hamza, and this would be a good time to revise another type of Hamza that we previously studied, which was Hamzatul Wasl. We studied the use of Lam Tarif to make an indefinite ism into a definite ism. We added Lam Tarif to Kitab to make it definite, but this was difficult to pronounce. So we added Hamzatul Wasl to Lam Tarif plus Kitab to make Al-Kitab. So we have studied two types of Hamza, Hamza Istifhamiya and Hamzatul Wasl. So Huruf-e-Istifham includes Hamza Istifhamiya and Hal. These are used to convert Jumla Ismiya into question form, provided that the question can be answered as yes or no. So we have the example of Zaid is pious, Zaidun Swalihun. If we want to convert Zaidun Swalihun into its question form, we will either add Hamza Istifhamiya at the beginning to have Zaidun Swalihun, is Zaid pious, or we can add Hal at the beginning to have Hal Zaidun Swalihun, is Zaid pious, and the answer can either be yes, for which in Arabic we will use Na'am, or it will be no, for which we will use La. Please note that Na'am and La are also called Huruf-e-Ijab. Huruf-e-Ijab are used to give jawab or answer. Please also note that this sign of question mark, this symbol can be seen and used in the Arabic text, but it is not used in the Holy Quran. Let us look at the following examples from the Holy Quran. Surah number 88, ayah number 1. Hal ataka hadisul ghashiyah. Here we see the use of hal, and the ayah can be translated as, has the news of the overwhelming event reached you? We see that hal is used to make a question. Surah number 12, ayah number 90. قَالُوا أَإِنَّكَ لَأَنْتَ يُوسُفُ. They exclaimed, are you indeed Yusuf? Here we see the use of Hamza Istifhamiyya to make a question. To recap, there are certain questions that can be answered with yes or no. For example, is this a pen? Is this an apple? Huruf istifham are used to make such questions. Huruf istifham includes Hamza Istifhamiyya and hal. The second category of questions are those that cannot be answered with yes or no, such as what is your name? What is your job? Where do you live? These are examples of questions that we cannot answer with yes or no. So we cannot use huruf istifham in these situations to make questions. For such questions, we will use Asma-ul-Istifham. Once again, Asma-ul-Istifham will be used to make questions that cannot be answered with yes or no. Huruf-e-Istifham are used to make questions that can be answered as yes or no. Let us study Asma-ul-Istifham in more detail. Let us study some introductory features of Asma-ul-Istifham. First of all, Asma-ul-Istifham are more than two. Huruf-e-Istifham were two in number, which was Hamza Istifhamiyya and hal. Asma-ul-Istifham will be more than two. Asma-ul-Istifham are used to make questions that cannot be answered as yes or no. Finally, Asma-ul-Istifham can be used with Jumla Ismiya, which we will study in this lecture inshallah, and they will also be used with Jumla Fi'liya, which inshallah we will study in the later part of this course. We will now start the study of Asma-ul-Istifham, and the first Isma-ul-Istifham that we have is ma. Please note that this ma is an ism. The meaning of ma is what. Please also recall that we studied another type of ma which was used to create negation in Jumla Ismiya. That is, it was used to make a negative Jumla Ismiya. That ma was a harf, and that ma was called ma al-Hijaziyah. That ma made Zaidun Salihun into ma Zaidun Salihan. Zaid is not pious. So ma al-Hijaziyah was used to create negation in Jumla Ismiya. Ma al-Hijaziyah was a harf, and ma al-Hijaziyah also made the khabar mansoob. This ma is different from ma al-Hijaziyah. This is an example of an ism istifham, and this ma is an ism, it is not a harf, and the meaning of this ma is what. Please also note that Asma-ul-Istifham become a part of Jumla Ismiya. What do we mean by that? In the case of Huruf-e-Istifham, such as Hamza Istifhamiyya or hal, they did not become part of the Jumla. And the example is Azaidun Salihun. In this case, we have Zaidun Salihun as part of Jumla Ismiya, and the Hamza Istifhamiyya does not replace Mubtada or Khabar. So the Harf-e-Istifham is separate from the Jumla Ismiya, and it does not seem to replace either Mubtada or Khabar. In contrast, in the case of Asma-ul-Istifham, they will become part of the Jumla Ismiya. In a Jumla Ismiya, Asma-ul-Istifham can either be considered Mubtada or they can be considered Khabar, and both interpretations are acceptable. Inshallah, we will study some examples in the following slides. So our first Ism-i-Istifham is ma. This ma is an ism, and an example is ma haza. What is this? So the meaning of what is being created by ma, which is an Ism-i-Istifham. Let us study some further examples. Let us make some questions using ma. Ma haza. What is this? Haza qalamun. This is a pen. Ma hazani. What are these two? Hazani qalamani. These are two pens. Ma zalika. What is that? Zalika kursiyun. That is a chair. Ma hazihi. What is this? Hazihi aynun. This is an eye. Ma haza. What is this? Haza anfun. This is a nose. Ma hazihi. What is this? Hazihi uzunun. This is an ear. We will look at some further examples of use of ma. Ma haza. What is this? Here we have ma ismuka. What is your name? Please note that in the case of ism, the hamza of ism is hamzatul wasl. So the correct way to read this would be masmuka, because we have to read it in continuation because the hamza of ism is hamzatul wasl. Masmuka. What is your name? Masmuhu. What is his name? Masmi. What is my name? Ma dinuka. What is your deen? To understand the concept of how Asma-ul-Istifham become a part of Jumla Ismiya, we can look at the example of ma haza. We have two scenarios. Scenario number one, ma can be considered mubtada and haza can be considered khabar. And scenario number two, ma can be considered khabar and haza can be considered mubtada. Both scenarios are considered acceptable, and our conclusion is that when we use Asma-ul-Istifham with Jumla Ismiya, the Asma-ul-Istifham will become a part of Jumla Ismiya. Our first Ism-i-Istifham was ma. Ma means what, and an example is ma haza, meaning what is this. The second Ism-i-Istifham is man. Man has the meaning of who, and we will look at a couple of examples. The first example is man anta. Who are you? And the second example is man rabbuka. Who is your Rabb? After ma, which means what, and man, which means who, we have kaifa. Kaifa means how. For example, kaifa anta. How are you? And we can also look at an example from the Holy Quran, Surah number 105, ayah number 1. Alam tara kaifa fa'ala rabbuka bi ashabil fil. Have you not seen how your Lord dealt with the people of the elephant? In this ayah, the meaning of how is being created by kaifa. Our fourth Ism-i-Istifham is aina. Aina means where. For example, aina anta. Where are you? To recap, ma means what. Ma haza. Man means who. Man rabbuka. Kaifa means how. Kaifa anta. Aina means where. Aina anta. We will study the fifth and sixth Asma-ul-Istifham together because they have the same meaning. The fifth is mata and the sixth is ayyana. Both mata and ayyana mean when, and we will look at a couple of examples from the Holy Quran. In Surah number 2, ayah number 214, we have Mata Nasrullahi. When will come the help of Allah? And to look at an example of ayyana, Surah number 75, ayah number 6, Yas'alu ayyana yawmul qiyamati. He asks, when is the day of resurrection? So in both these examples, mata and ayyana are creating the meaning of when. Our seventh Ism-i-Istifham is ayyun. Ayyun means which. We have to note a few things about ayyun. First of all, ayyun can be used as ayyun, ayyan, and ayyin. So in all three forms, it can be used and it will have the same meaning, which is which. And the second point is that ayyun will always be used as mudaf. And we know the rules for mudaf, that mudaf will not accept al and it will not accept tanween. So ayyun will be used as ayyu. For example, ayyu kitabin haza. Which book is this? Ayyu is mudaf, kitabin is mudaf ilayh. Ayyu does not have al, it does not have tanween, and kitabin is majroor, so it meets the requirement for it to be mudaf ilayh. If we add fi, which is harf jar, before ayyun, we should recall that harf jar will make the ism that follows it majroor. So if fi is followed by ayyu, it will make ayyu majroor. And an example of that can be seen in Surah number 82, ayah number 8. Fi ayyi suratin. He composed you in whichever form he willed. We see fi harf jar and it is followed by ayyi because it is making ayyi majroor, and ayyi suratin is on the mudaf ilayh construction form. In another example, Surah number 55, ayah number 13, we see ba harf jar is being used before ayyu. فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. So, which of the favors of your Lord would you deny? Our seventh Ism-i-Istifham was ayyun, which means which, and we studied the example of ayyu kitabin haza. The eighth Ism-i-Istifham is anna. Anna means from where. An example can be found in Surah number 3, ayah number 37. Anna laki haza. From where is this coming to you? Ayyun means which. Anna means from where. And we have the example of Anna laki haza. And our ninth Ism-i-Istifham is kam. Kam can mean how many or it can mean how much. An example can be found in Surah number 23, ayah number 112. Then Allah will ask them, for how many years did you stay on earth? The meaning of how many comes from the use of kam. Our 10th and last Ism-i-Istifham that we will study is lima. Please note that lima is made by the combination of lam ijara and ma istifham. So lamijara plus ma istifham creates lima. Lima means why. An example of the use of lima can be found in the Holy Quran in Surah number 61, ayah number 2. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu lima taquluna ma la taf'alun. O believers, why do you say what you do not do? The meaning of why comes from lima. Let us recall the different Asma-ul-Istifham that we have studied in today's lecture. Ma, which means what? Man, who? Kaifa, how? Aina, where? Mata, when? Ayyana, when? Ayyun, which? Anna, from where? Kam, how many or how much? And finally, lima, why?
سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك